Hello, I'm Gavin Syme.
And I'm Vivian Corrigan, and welcome to Perthshire Online TV. Well, it's nice to see you back, Gavin.
And I'm delighted to be back, thank you.
Very good. And how's the Waistline Online Challenge going?
Well, the Waistline Online Challenge is going really well, Vivian. Elaine Christie and I had our first weigh-in this week with Stephen Clark, who's doing a great job with us. Can't say too much about it all. We had a good first weigh-in. We're working hard. We're very motivated at this point in time. But Stephen will be in the studio in about 2 to 3 weeks' time to reveal all and share how we're getting on. Yeah. So what's on the show this week?
Well, we have a telephone interview with music legend Elkie Brooks, so we're looking forward to that.
And Elkie has actually given us 2 free tickets to her concert this Friday in Perth Concert Hall. It's a super competition, 2 giveaway tickets, and the question is, so please listen at this point in time, the question is, for the competition is, what was the year that Elkie released her first album, and what was that album called? So, her first album, what was the year that Elkie Brooks' first album was released, and what was that called? As we say, we've got 2 free tickets to give away to one lucky viewer, and you can actually email us. Please email us, not on the same email address as normal. We've got a specific email address set up, which is PerthshireOnlineTV@gmail.com. So that's PerthshireOnlineTV@gmail.com. So we want to hear from you. We've also had Perth dentist Konstantinos Loazides in the studio.
You need the right teeth in to say that.
And that's why we call him Dino the Dentist. So Dino the Dentist has been in the studio this week. And we've also had Alfie Ionetta. And Alfie is the chief exec of the Black Watch Museum Trust. Alfie's been in a super interview sharing with us all that's happening, or all the plans that are in place for our large renovation at their base in Balhousie Castle over the next 12 months. There's a lot going on, yeah, and they've got some super plans. It's great expansion happening there. Also delighted this week that we can introduce our new community reporter, and that's Perth's Jason Blythe. And Jason is going to be interviewing on a favourite subject of his. So all I can really say is it's something about football, McDermott Park and Saints. What are they called again?
I know nothing about football. We'll leave that to Jason. So as they say, it's on with the show.
Well, in Scotland, we're all very well aware of the name the Black Watch, and certainly in Perth and Perthshire, the name the Black Watch is synonymous with the area. I'm delighted today that we've got Alfie Ionetta, who's the Chief Executive of the Black Watch Museum Trust, with us on the show. Alfie, welcome to Perthshire Online TV.
Thanks, Gavin.
So, tell us a little bit of the background, for those of us that don't know. Give us a little bit of the background of the Black Watch as a regiment, where they were in history and where you are today in 2012.
Okay. Well, the Black Watch is basically Perthshire's regiment, always has been. It was raised in 1739 in Aberfeldy. And since then, there's always been affiliation between Perthshire and the Black Watch. It has moved its recruiting area over the years to include Angus and Fife, but it is the local regiment.
And what's the tie-up with the Balhousie Castle then? Is that where you've always been, or is that something new? Or
we've not always been there. I mean, no, at the turn of the century, or the last century, we were in Queen's Barracks on Dunkeld Road. And what happened is in 1962 that was knocked down, and that's actually where the police station is now.
Oh, right.
And what's happened is we moved into Balhousie Castle from a regimental headquarters point of view, and also more importantly for the museum.
Right. And what all happens at the museum then? Is it, I assume you've got memorabilia, what history of the regiment itself? Give us a little overview.
Yes. Well, actually, no, this March is going to be 50 years that we've been at Balhousie Castle, and the castle itself, what we do is we tell the story of the Black Watch through roughly 8,000 artefacts from 1739 right through to the present day. There's various rooms there, and basically what happens now is within these rooms we cover a chronological era within the Black Watch, starting from 1739 to the present day.
With 8,000 artefacts, the rooms must be mighty busy.
They are very busy, and that's one of the limitations that we have at the castle just now, because the rooms themselves are quite small, and it's very difficult for us to give a good tour to a big group of people. So that's something we're looking to change.
And that brings us on to this lovely model that we've got in front of us here, which you've
Yes.
put on, because like every family, you have to expand the family home sometimes. So we've got this great model which actually shows where Balhousie Castle is going to be extended to potentially over the next 12 months. So maybe you can just talk us through some of the changes that are planned as we see.
Yes, of course I will. Okay. Well, I mean, the castle itself, I mean, we're limited, like I said, as regards space. What we're looking to do is extend the castle and almost double the size. The extension will involve a new entrance area, moving out towards a cafe, as well as a kitchen, and then more importantly, above the cafe, the kitchen and the shop, there'll be special space developed to preserve the artefacts and to make sure that they're looked after forever. Currently they're up in the attic, so they're not in the best of places, so it gives us plenty of space to look after them for future generations. I mean, the good thing about the development is that we get an awful lot of visitors just now who come to the castle, and the struggle as regards getting up some of the stairs, because it's particularly the spiral staircase, it's a difficult stairwell to manage. So as part of the development, we're looking to put in a lift shaft as well at the rear of the castle, and that way anybody at all, and particularly for wheelchair access, they'll be able to enjoy the whole museum.
Yeah, because it's a huge extension, really. As you say, you're saying it's twice the size, but it looks a lot bigger than that.
I mean, it does. I mean, as you could see, it doesn't go quite as high as the original building. But what we needed to do is just make sure that all the things that would help us, firstly, protect the collection, secondly, be able to give lectures and education space to schools and lifelong learning, as well as a new shop and a cafe. These are all going to be factors that will help the sustainability of the castle for the next 50 years.
And, I recognise this. I recognise this area here, because this is all the front that I see from when I do my run round the Inch as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's a pathway that leads from the North Inch up into the castle, and we're looking to enhance that in the future. And I mean, as we see now, what we'll have now is a fantastic courtyard effect, whereby you could see the wee doorway on the right. What we're not going to do is use that doorway. The new entrance will come straight in.
Fantastic.
But it creates a lovely courtyard with French windows in the cafe. That way, on the lots of summer days that we get in Perthshire, people could come and sit within the courtyard and enjoy a cup of tea and a scone, hopefully.
Great. And and it's a fantastic model, I've got to say. It's a superb model.
It took me a while to build it, actually.
I bet it did, actually. If you feel like nights on that one. So, like every project, you've got to have a budget. That must, this is going to be a lot of money. What are you talking about?
It's an ambitious project, and particularly with the way the market conditions are just now. I mean, the appeal that we launched in order to deliver this plan has been going for 3 years now. But I'm really pleased to see that we're very close to actually bridging that final funding gap.
What is the target that you've got?
The target's £3.5 million.
Right. Yeah.
Currently, we have just submitted a Heritage Lottery funding bid, which is for £750,000. But there's still a funding gap there, and that's hopefully what I'm looking to do, is raise some more money for the appeal. We've been really lucky with the regimental family, with the Black Watch Association, and more importantly the wider general public. They've all supported the Black Watch, as well as the local charitable trusts where you've got Fertivia and Ganachie. They've been really supportive, but we just need that wee bit more.
You've still got a wee gap,
yeah.
So if anybody's looking to still make some donations, then they should be going to www.theblackwatch.co.uk. Is that right? www.theblackwatch.co.uk. And you've also got quite an active, they've got a very active Facebook page as well, the Museum of the Black Watch. So, everybody knows where to find you if they've still got a few pennies left after Christmas to donate towards the renovation fund.
Yeah, and I mean, there's lots of ways in which you could do that. I mean, we've got various methods whereby what they can do is sponsor a brick. They could also sponsor an artefact or a case within the museum.
Right.
And there'll be a dedication on a case or on a room if they were to do that. But more importantly, anybody that buys a brick will be going in a special volume that's going to be generated, so everybody could see who's helped build the castle as such.
So, you know, you're looking for support from the community, and the community has given you support, but I know as an organisation you're quite out there in the community and supporting it as well, because you've got the Friends of the Black Watch, and you've got the outreach programme as well, haven't you? Which has been, I think, taking you around most of the secondary schools in Perthshire.
Absolutely. I mean, the castle itself is it's a real hub of activity. I mean, we've still got a regimental headquarters there who liaise with the battalion. We've got that contact. We've got the Black Watch Association who look after the welfare and look after basically anybody who's in the Black Watch who may find themselves in difficult times. We've got our educational outreach team which do a fantastic job. They've visited every secondary school in Perthshire, Angus and Fife, as well as most of the primary schools. And what they do is they go out and as part of the history curriculum, they try and bring the Black Watch story and our part in history alive. And we work within the curriculum.
Fantastic.
The Friends of the Black Watch was an organisation that was launched just over a year ago.
How many friends have you got?
We've actually got over 200 already,
right.
and worldwide, in umpteen countries worldwide. And what that organisation does, and this is a tie, the Friends tie, what that represents is an opportunity for people who may not have particularly had a connection with the Black Watch regiment as such, but they may have an interest in history, regimental history, the castle, artefacts, and it's really a vehicle to welcome them into the Black Watch family.
Great. Well, Alfie, listen, thanks for popping into the studio today. You know that you're always welcome over the next 12 months as the renovations start taking hold of the castle. Best of luck with the funding, and I hope that all moves forward from May time. And we've actually put a little montage together of some images of the Black Watch over the years, and we'll finish off with that being pushed through with some nice traditional march music.
That's brilliant. Well, listen, thanks very much for having me here, Gavin.
Thank you.
In a dark room in Beirut, 3 hostages, an Irishman, an Englishman and an American, are kept chained. They do not know why they have been captured, how many days have passed, or if they are waiting for death or release. Together, in their imaginations and in their friendships, small escapes are found. They write letters to those left behind, recreate famous films, relive Virginia Wade's 1977 Wimbledon triumph. They hold on desperately to their laughter, their differences, their prejudice, and the love that keeps them alive. Frank McGuinness looks into darkness and finds a magical flame of human warmth in this brilliant and beautiful work of pure storytelling theatre, which proved a hit both here in the West End and on Broadway. Wild Rose Production presents Cinderella on Ice at the Perth Concert Hall. Now this runs from Thursday the 16th of February to Sunday the 19th of February. Now after the hit shows of Snow White on Ice, Peter Pan on Ice, the Russian Ice Stars return with another much loved fairy tale, and they deliver a dazzling interpretation of the enchanting Cinderella. The high-speed combination of extraordinary skating and breathtaking aerial feats will leave you mesmerised. A spectacular treat for the whole family. Have a look at this and see what you're going to see. Now listen, we've got a real treat for you because coming to Scotland is Elkie Brooks, and she'll be here on the 8th of February at the Eden Court in Inverness, and she's also coming to Perth as well on the 10th of February at the Perth Concert Hall. But even more lucky than that, we've got Elkie Brooks on the phone as well, who we're going to have a little chat with. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, Alan. And yeah, Elkie Brooks with an S, fine. But
yes, I've got that now, Chuck.
You know.
Now listen,
I always thought that Elkie Brooks sounded better with an S on.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, my real name's Elaine Bookbinder anyway, my maiden name.
Yeah, yeah. And you.
But that's quite a long story how I changed it. Anyway, everybody will have to wait for the book for that one.
Yeah. And do you have a book coming out?
I have a book coming out, we hope, round about the late June, July period.
Okay, so if everybody puts that in the diaries, they can start getting an early Christmas present.
Yeah.
Now listen, you were born in Broughton. Now is that Manchester or Salford?
Well, everything tends to, at the moment, come under the umbrella of Manchester.
Yes.
But from what I can gather then, it was Salford, but then I was brought up, I left Broughton Park about 3 years going on 67, and I'm still fairly slim, and I still do a lot of walking, and I started jogging as well.
Ah, so you're keeping fit as you're going along?
Oh yes, I have to. I mean, it's all about your fitness level in this business. It's not so much doing the shows, it's what goes in between, you know, travelling and everything.
And it's also keeping the stamina up for doing the show.
Yeah.
Do you find that the fitness level and all that helps your voice?
Oh, everything does. I think whatever you do in life, if you've got a reasonable fitness level, it's got to help.
Yeah, yeah. So you actually kind of, I think, didn't you win a talent contest when you was about 15 at the Palace Theatre in Manchester?
Yeah, it wasn't so much a talent contest as Don Arden, who was Sharon Osbourne's dad, I believe he died some years ago, was a big promoter of American shows, and he was just looking for local talent as such to possibly be the agent or manager for. So it wasn't really like a talent show like the talent shows you see today.
Yes. Do you think it's people need to have that kind of experience by working clubs and small theatres, etc., to build that up, and then when kind of stardom comes along, they can cope with it better?
I would rather have not had to do it, to be honest.
Yes, I know it's hard work.
I hated it. I liked my experience better when I was more involved with bands, like wonderful late Humphrey Littleton, who I met in 1965, and I worked with his band for a while. Yeah. Prior to that, I'd been working with Eric Delaney's band, but being on my own and doing the club circuit up north, I hated. And I think if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's a hard enough business as it is, you know. There's not really much point. I was at one point thinking of going home and doing something else. Yeah. But yes, I mean, it is very important. If people are, you know, wanting to start out and get experience, try the lot, you know. I mean, if you can get, you know, involved with the local group and work with them, that's the way. You know, you've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
To get experience. I mean, a lot of these people think they can just go on these talent shows and Bob's your uncle, they're a star overnight. Well, yeah, that sometimes does, but not always the case.
And what you said earlier on, it's okay going on a talent show and winning it, but they've not built up the kind of the stamina that's needed, and also the experience of being on stage, etc.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's really it. And as I said earlier, Alan, it's not just a case of just being on stage, it's all the travelling that goes with it.
Yes, you were very lucky though when you started off as well. You worked with many greats. I mean, you must have learnt from those and picked up things, you know, like the Small Faces, the Animals, etc.
I think I picked up more stuff, you know, from, as I say, I was speaking about earlier, working with the great late Humphrey Littleton, who was amazing on stage and had great stage presence and always knew how to communicate really, really well with an audience. I picked up an awful lot from him.
Did you find that he kind of altered your kind of singing style or the type of music you sing?
I don't think anybody's been capable of doing that. It fails miserably. But I sing the way I do. I have a lot of different. Having started singing at an early age, and even been to singing lessons with my local cantor at the synagogue, and learned to sing in Hebrew and learned to sing in Yiddish. Wow. I feel that if you have a singing voice, you should be able to sing in lots of different styles. You know, which I have done. But I've ended up eventually sounding like me. It's taken a long time, and I feel that I am me, and that's what you get, you know.
Do you find when you do a concert up, do you bring maybe sometimes a different interpretation to a song, maybe? I know anybody can just sing a song, not just sing a song, but a friend of mine who's a big fan of yours comes to many concerts, and he says sometimes he feels that, you know, he's moved by certain songs because you kind of live them as it was, not just sing a song where you interpret it.
Well, I mean, I like to feel that that's, you know, if I do affect people that way, that's marvellous, you know.
Listen, Elkie, thank you so much, and good luck with the tour. Good luck with the tour. All right. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, Alan, take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Just to remind you again that was Elkie Brooks, and don't forget the 8th of February at the Eden Court in Inverness, and also this 10th of February at the Perth Concert Hall. Now, we've also got a great competition to win some tickets, and all you've got to do is answer these questions. What year was Elkie's first album released, and what was it called? Now, all you've got to do is send your answer to PerthshireOnlineTV at gmail.com. The winner will receive 2 tickets to Elkie's concert on Friday the 10th of February. The closing date for entries is Wednesday the 8th of February at 10 p.m. and the tickets are for the performance at the Perth Concert Hall.
Teeth whitening, is that something that you would like to know about? It's certainly something that I'd like to know about, which is why I'm really pleased to have our guest here today from Perth Dental Care. Dino, welcome to the show. Tell me what your last name is again, by the way.
It's Loizidis.
You see, I couldn't really manage that. So
most people tend to call it Dino. It's a lot easier.
Now, teeth whitening has become incredibly popular over the last few years. Why do you think that is? I know there's an obvious answer to that, but people of all ages are doing it, and now it's a lot more affordable. Tell me about what the process involves and what you can offer.
Well, tooth whitening has been around for a significant number of years, and it has changed drastically since its first inception. It's much more popular now because, yes, you're quite right, affordability is a major issue. But also the techniques that we use and the materials that we use are giving us a much more predictable result. And to be quite honest, it's a very easy and very quick way to transform somebody's smile. We can literally remove years worth of aging by a simple procedure called tooth whitening.
So does that reinforce the enamel, or does it reach in? Because I know virtually nothing about this, which is obviously why I'm trying to ask you these questions. So how does that work?
Well, the agent that we use, predominantly in my practice anyway, we use a product called carbamide peroxide. And carbamide peroxide breaks down into hydrogen peroxide, and anybody out there who has done hair bleaching, it's a similar sort of idea. The carbamide peroxide breaks down and gets absorbed into the body of the tooth, and the radicals, I'm getting all technical now, but the radicals bind to the colour substances within the body of the tooth, and they break them down. And by breaking them down, they change the shade of the tooth.
Right.
So tooth whitening works on two levels. You have the external effect, where superficial staining, tea, coffee, red wine, tobacco, are literally stripped off by the peroxide agent. But then you have the internal whitening, where the natural shade of the tooth changes from a slight yellow to a more natural or more white colour.
Right.
And that's basically...
so presumably when people come to you, they're coming to you of all ages, so there's going to be, forget the tea, coffee and the red wine, there's going to be natural ageing of the teeth anyway, so presumably you'd recommend that they stick with the colour that you suggest would sit with them, or do you just give them what they want?
We tend to give them what they want, but again, any cosmetic procedure needs an extensive amount of consultation and going over all the pros and cons before we decide together whether it is actually right for you. And unfortunately, some people, tooth whitening is not for them. Either their expectations are too high or we can't just deliver. So again, in consultation with you, we'll decide what is the best outcome for you. And we know with the product that we actually use, we can bring you down to a B1 shade. Now, what is a B1 shade? A B1 shade is the whitest of the natural shades that you can achieve. Right. So it's a natural white shade. It looks natural. We can certainly go whiter, and we can go into what I tend to call the Armitage Shanks whitening. Very often seen in Hollywood.
Yeah, okay.
You'll remember that episode of Friends with Ross. Yes. Some people want that. And I tend to try and avoid those people. But we will, at the end of the day, we will do what our patients ask us to do.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think we wanted you particularly to come in here, is because without wanting to build you up in any way, what is important about this kind of procedure, and indeed is important about any kind of procedure of this type, is that you go to a professional.
Absolutely. It is a medical procedure at the end of the day, and you want that medical procedure to be done by somebody who is qualified, registered, and more importantly, controlled. Dentistry in the UK is so heavily controlled and regulated, it's incredible. My practice, because we are predominantly an independent practice, I am regulated by Tayside Health Board, I am regulated by the General Dental Council, I am also regulated by Denplan, which is a company that provides some of the private aspects of the treatments that we carry out, and I'm also regulated by DPAS, which is yet another company. For the cosmetic side of things, for example, Botox and facial fillers, again, we are regulated by the IHAS. Don't ask me what that stands for at this moment in time, it'll come to me later on. And again, we're also regulated by the Medical Devices Agency. So regulation is in there. So again, going back to your original question, yes, you need to be seen and assessed by somebody who is regulated, and secondly, who knows what they're doing. And as far as I'm concerned, the only people who know what they're doing with regards to your teeth are people who have spent years studying your mouth and studying your face and the facial muscles and all these things. And those people are dentists and dental surgeons. It's not hairdressers and beauticians in salons.
I think a lot of people tend to forget that dentists have to be quite expert in maxillofacial structure, which is not just about dentistry, it's about the whole structure of the head, the jaw, the mouth, how all those things work together, because it's very often dentists that find the first signs of more serious health problems. It's not very often the GP, and sometimes you can find that by quite a routine dental check, which I suppose is another reason why people should have their teeth checked regularly.
Absolutely. You come and see us for your routine checkup, and as part of your routine checkup, in our practice we have what I like to call a 9-point checkup, and in that we will check your teeth, we will check the gums, the soft tissues, the pink bits, squidgy bits, all these things, and we are looking for signs of things like early gum disease, progressive gum disease, but also more sinister things like early cancers, and so on and so forth. And again, the best people to pick these things up are dental surgeons. Don't get me wrong, I mean, GPs are perfectly capable of identifying these things, but if you think about it logically, how often do you see your GP?
Not that often. Not
that often, and you only tend to see him if there's something wrong with you, and it's something specific, backache, a shoulder ache, things like that. You see your dentist, hopefully, theoretically, every 6 months for a routine checkup. I don't think there is any other profession, or certainly in the healthcare industry, where you are seeing your healthcare professional so regularly. And we are best placed to pick up all these things at a very early stage.
You know, I think everybody's probably got a dentist horror story, which I probably won't bother telling you mine because it's really quite a really bad horror story. It involves a dentist being drunk and me walking out on him. It was that bad. And he very soon got struck off. But this is a very, very long time ago, I should tell you. But it's great now to see, because so many people of my generation, particularly mid-50s, sort of up to their 60s, had so many horrible experiences that it's great that over the last 30, 40 years, the level of dentistry, the expertise and the confidence that people have in dentists has grown to such a level that it really is treated and should be treated like a routine visit.
That's true. I qualified in '93, and even in that time, the way we look after patients has changed dramatically. We are more patient-focused, we are more patient-orientated now. We discuss our treatments, or one would like, well, we certainly do, discuss our treatments with our patients, and we come up with a treatment plan in conjunction and in consultation with our patients. The days where dentist knows best or doctor knows best are long gone behind us, and you shouldn't be in a situation where you see your dentist and he says, right, I'm going to do this. It should not happen. And because of that, dentistry has come on leaps and bounds, and especially in this modern environment that we're in, and the competitive environment that we're in now, patient care and customer service is paramount. And again, that is something that at my practice we try to do.
So, just going back to the teeth whitening aspect of it, what is the process for that? Is it done over a period of time? Is it done in one go? How does that work?
Again, there's different ways of doing it. I wouldn't say I've tried them all, but we've tried quite a few. And the system we have landed on is a system called Enlighten. And as I said to you before, it's the one that is guaranteed to bring you the B1 shade. In a nutshell, the first appointment is your initial assessment consult. Okay, we decide what needs to be done and so on and so forth. Your second appointment, we will take impressions of your teeth, and based on those impressions, we will make a special gum shield which fits over those teeth. You then come back for the third visit. We prescribe the appropriate whitening agent that we think is going to work for you. We tell you how to use it, when to use it, what to do, what not to do, so on and so forth. We then send you away for a couple of weeks. I like to get my patients back after a couple of days just to make sure that everything's going according to plan. Just a quick 5-minute visit, how you doing, any problems? And after that visit, it's back 4 weeks later, just again to reassess how things are and how much tooth whitening we've achieved. If at that point we're happy, that's the end of it. Okay, we then discuss top-ups and maintenance. But if we're not happy with the shade that we've achieved, We then go for the power bleaching, where you come back into the surgery for about an hour, and we go through a process of using a different agent again on the teeth for about an hour, constantly changing it, and it's at that point that we get the final definitive shade. That's it in a nutshell.
I mean, it's so good really that something that was considered to be such an unaffordable thing that was just confined to celebrities is now so affordable that it's open to everybody. I've just got one more question about it, which is if you've had an amount of dental work already done, so you've already got some fillings and caps, will this process still work for you?
It will still work for you, but it will not change the shade of your caps. It will not change the shade of silver fillings.
Okay.
It will not change the shade of white fillings. Now, in the back of the mouth, that's not a huge problem because nobody really sees it. But at the front of the mouth, it can be a problem. Because if you have, say, a slightly yellow shade, and your crowns and fillings were made to match your own natural teeth, and you've got a very good match at that point, well, once you get your tooth whitened, you will have a discrepancy between the crown or the white fillings and the shade of the tooth. So the white fillings or the crown may need to be replaced. That's additional time, and unfortunately, that's additional costs.
I mean, I thought that's what the answer was going to be, but I thought I'd ask that anyway. Well, it's actually been a real pleasure to have you coming, because I don't often get close to... No, that's not true. I have no problems with dentists these days. Thank you ever so much for coming in, and we look forward to seeing you here with us again very soon. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And
you're welcome.
Thank you for your time. Cheers.
Okay, thank you.
Now I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful heart-shaped weaved kind of heart designs, aren't they, really? Don't really have to go into much about that, but you could use these all year round. Great for Valentine's Day, great for any romantic evening or anything like that. Fantastic for Christmas as well. You could do this in red and greens. Very simple and easy to do. We've got a download pattern or patterns, and let me just show you those quickly first. There's an example of the pattern that we're going to use today. There's the pattern there, but you can get various sizes going down in different smaller ones and smaller ones and smaller ones, but today I'm going to concentrate on this one, and on this one you're going to get 2 per page. Now what I've also done is I've cut these out already, but you can imagine that, say, one sheet in just pink or just the purple. I've actually used half of each, but what I've done is just printed them off onto some card like I'll show you here. You can see the card there, and you get 2 of those obviously on a page and 2 of those on a page. These I've not cut out, but I've already cut some out so that you're not going to be sat there waiting for me, click up then, waiting for me to catch up, etc, etc. So print out the design on the backs of the card that you want to use, and when you've done that, just cut them out like this. And then you've got 2 like combs. Now if you turn them over, you can see the black lines there. So when we start weaving, we need to start weaving from that side there, so you're getting 2 plain areas. So what I'm going to do is just move these away for now. There's those. That's another couple of examples of different colour schemes there. So I'll just move those away for now, then I'll show you something a little bit more up front, close and personal. So here you go. Now I'm doing this back to front, upside down, and it's bad enough trying to weave, but I'll try and do it. If I have to turn it round so you can't see properly, I apologise in advance. So first of all, what I tried to do is tuck those underneath there, and then start with your first one and just weave it along the top. Now these are designed so they've got little bits that hang over, so it allows you to pull and stick, pull and stick. So get your first one right and just butt it up to the edge there, push it so you've got the same kind of amount, so distance here, so it looks right. That's about right. You can measure it if you want, and make sure that's nice and straight. You can also tell down here you've got a nice straight line, same thickness all the way down. It just helps you keep the heart a little bit straighter. And what I do is then just take a little bit of glue. I've got a glue pen here, and you can just thread it without doing this, but this kind of saves a lot of time of it moving around and jiggling around. So just stick down the first one like so. Put the glue back, and then you take the next thread, and you see it's gone underneath that one. Well, it's moved already. So hold that down, wait till your glue dries. You should be done quite simply. So the next one goes over the top of the next one like that, and then you can see that goes underneath. I've done that wrong. It goes over that one, sorry. There you go, over that one. You see, it's easy to get this wrong when you're working upside down. So you've got that one going over, So it means that next one is going under. If you keep it down, just lift that up, that slots underneath there like that. And then again, if you hold that one up and lift that one up, it goes over the top there like that. Am I getting this right? No, that goes over the top. And that goes underneath. There you go. And that goes underneath. And again, you just make sure it's not moved like this one has. I didn't wait for the glue. So butt this one up again and just get it nice and tight. And then just another little piece of glue. And just a little bit of glue there and stick that one down. And then you've got the startings of your heart then. Now you can see that it's just a question then of lifting up, laying down, lifting up, laying down and stick it. So when it's stuck, you end up with one like this, as you can see that up close and personal. There you go. That's done in kind of the two different yellows. You've got orange there and you've got the yellows. Now with the tags that are left over at the end, it allows you then to just trim them with scissors, and then you've got the perfect heart. And if you cut out, if you do two, then you've got enough to do, you know, you could stick these together. You could make this into a card that opens up. You could stick them just down the edges and then a little bit of fill them up there in the middle. You could fill them up with flowers, etc. There's lots of different ways you can use these. I'll just give you a few examples. So there's a version of the one we just showed you how to make. So you've got that orange and you've got the yellow, and I've made two from that one. As I said, you could turn it into a card. You could have it as a double card like that where it overlaps. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. I've got another one here that's slightly smaller. And you can see there, I printed onto gold and I printed onto the red as well. I mean, that would be great for a golden wedding anniversary or for Christmas even. And don't forget, you're going to get both sides as well. So if you want to just hang these on a Christmas tree filled with sweeties or something like that, you're getting that one. I've got another example here. So that is the gold and the red. Now, I've also got the gold and the red where I've actually used the same colours but still done that weaving, the heart weaving there, and that's what it looks like in the gold and that's what it looks like in the red. Again, you can use these in various ways. You can even go smaller. Again, I've got some little ones here. You just make them in exactly the same way, and I've got one there. Let's pop that one there. And there's, maybe you want to do a card where you could have 4 of these to create a pattern. So you could stick those down onto your card like that. And then you could maybe put a decoupage in the middle there, or stick that on a card, or you could fold them up, or you could make a little wall hanging, and you could have one hanging down there, one hanging there, and just attach them to a bit of ribbon so you've got a nice wall hanging without hanging down. Or you could have the 3 different sizes. Maybe you want a small one, and you've got the next size up, which would be that one. And then you've got this size as well. So you could have a wall hanging, not necessarily in those colours, but the same colours, and you could attach nice little ribbons and bows to them, whatever you want. There's various ways of using these hearts. There's just a very simple heart weave, and you can even make great big ones like this. You've got, you know, there's different sizes. And this one here has just been stuck together, a little bit of glue, and you can just open that out. And you can see there you've got a lovely little kind of pocket there that you can put flowers in or anything like that, and you can just hang that wherever you want. You can hang it on the wall. Whatever you want. There's so many different things you can do, and just say you can even make them as big as that if you want to. So if you want to make some fantastic hearts, let's have a close-up of these. All you've got to do is download it, print out, and you can start making.
Hi, I'm Francesca Webster, the community reporter for PerthshireOnlineTV, and today I'm joined by my fellow judge during the Battle of the Bands contest in Perth, Bruce Hodgkiss. How's it going, Bruce?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm really good.
I'm relieved it's all over with, and you know, driving up that road from Falkirk to Perth, you know, up and back every week for however long it was.
If you think that's bad, try coming from Pitlochry during the icy season.
Well, yeah, fair enough, I guess. But
no, it's been, I mean, it's good fun, and actually, you say you're relieved it's over. I've been doing it since October.
Yes, no, Fiona from Clearwater spoke to me about judging the event, and she laid out all the dates that was going on, and I'm sort of like, no, I don't think I can really do 16 weeks or however many it was that went on. But I did tell her that I'd do the semi-finals and the final. So, and that was 18 bands, or 18 performances, 12 bands.
Yeah, I mean, over the whole duration of it, it's been going on since October, almost weekly, sometimes fortnightly.
All right, yeah.
But there were something like 40 bands involved. I mean, it was a really big thing, a huge amount of Perth talent, Perthshire talent actually, bands coming from as far as Aberfeldy. Actually, if we're honest, the winning band was from Kirkcaldy. So it's kind of closer to your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was...
But justified.
Yeah, well, we had to endure the 8-band final on Saturday, and I say had to endure, but I absolutely loved it.
Yes, no, I think that coming in at the final of a battle of the bands, at least you're seeing the cream of the crop. I mean, there's an awfully big step that a band has to take when leaving. In Canada they say the basement, but I believe over here they say the garage or garage.
Possibly the garage, that would make more sense.
When leaving the garage, you know, and actually putting themselves out there for people to see, I certainly applaud every band there that did it. Quite a few of them just weren't quite ready for it yet. But, hey, you got to put yourself out there and hone your skills as musicians. So, well done to them.
That's the thing, and I have to say as well, I mean, there were a couple of bands this year who had been in last year's and they didn't make it past a single heat. And then this year they were actually in the final. So it goes to show that when you put some real effort, some real graft in, you know, I mean...
Yeah, well, I mean, they always say about the music business, which is the bigger word. You know, the music is a small part of what you need to do to get yourself out there in the music industry. And that's, you only learn so much sitting in your bedroom, you know, learning G, C and D. You got to get out there and improve, practice. I mean, most famous guitar players will still tell you that every day they play the guitar.
I had quite a cringy experience recently.
Uh-oh.
I had lots of tapes where I used to do my own radio show, which is probably where it was born out of. And on one of those tapes I decided that I'd try out my singing.
Right.
And a rendition of Amazing Grace.
And do we have it here?
Well, it was, no. Quite happy to say. But it was played during an ex-boyfriend of mine's trip down the road because his CD player had broken. And he nearly crashed when he had my rendition of Amazing. Absolutely awful. And that's why, watching that Battle of the Bands final, I felt quite proud for these guys who can actually do it.
Yes, yeah. No, I mean, the famous line in the Hotchkiss family is my brother is quite an accomplished double bass player, and my sister is quite an accomplished pianist. I have to say that right, and I bang on the drums for 25 years, and I think it's because when we were kids, my dad secretly taped my sister singing, and we decided at that point as a family, everyone in the family was tone deaf, so we might as well learn something else.
Learn something different.
Yeah, so, and we still taunt my sister about that tape, but...
Cringy. Well, the band who actually won, interesting name, Kamehameha.
Yeah, if there's something behind the name, I don't quite know what it is. I don't know if it's you know, Scottish colloquialism, if Kamehameha means something.
I'm going to step in there because I googled it and I'm sure it was a Star Trek reference.
Was it?
Or maybe Star Wars. One of the two. It was something sci-fi.
Right, okay.
And if they're watching just now and I'm wrong, I'm really sorry. I'll give you lots of airplay on the radio. But yeah.
I'm not. 'Tis a silly name.
It's a good name, but yeah, not an easy one to write down. So, I mean, they were really different though, weren't they? I mean, I was not expecting...
Yeah, I mean, right from... I mean, as I said, I saw them in the second semi-final. No idea what they were like in the earlier heats. But after the first semi-final, I know there were a couple of bands in it that you liked, but I was kind of like, oh, what have I signed myself up for? only to the point that nothing really stood out. You know, there were bands that were, yeah, okay. There were bands that were, you know, if they were playing in a club, I wouldn't walk out. But nothing that was like, you know, really caught you. And then I think Kamehameha were second or third on at the second semi-final.
Blew you out the water.
Well, the place just kind of stopped. I mean, it was like, you know, you see in those movies where Clint Eastwood walks into the bar and everything stops and they all turn to look at him. It was a bit of that, you know, because
that's what happened when I walked in.
Oh, right. No. Right, okay. Yeah, had your fly zone done again.
No fly zone. Yeah, no, they were so different, and it was funny because initially people didn't really know what to do in the mosh pit.
Yeah.
Because it was electro. It wasn't like you can jump up and down to it, but then everyone had their own
Well,
sort of
yeah,
style.
I mean, it was like there were all these sort of squeaky electronic beeping noises coming out of. I mean, I'm an old school rocker. I'm Marshall and Gibson Les Paul plug-in, off you go. So I mean, what any of these little machines are, I have no idea, but they all make their own little squeaks and squawks. And when that started up, it was sort of like, okay, it sounds a bit like a, you know, avant-garde soundtrack to some art movie. And then all of a sudden it was like real drums, real bass, real guitar, something's going on, and this guy, who by the way I found out is in fact a wrestler, Ian Morris, who's the, I don't know if you'd say singer, DJ, MC, rapper, whatever he is, you know, just started, and it was... Yeah. As I said,
I know that you won't like this, but he reminds me a little bit of Plan B's kind of setup. Like he was kind of small and he had really good chat and he really got into it.
Yeah. And I mean, he kind of knew the crowd. I mean, I think, you know, I was just recently judging another battle of the bands, and one of the band that won, he sort of came up to me and he said, "Oh, you know, thanks a lot," and la 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 la, all that sort of stuff. I said, "Listen, you know, just because you won this battle of the bands doesn't mean you don't have any work to do." You know, and I think basically that was their third or fourth live appearance, and I mean, there's definitely work that needs done, but he did understand what the crowd was, and although lyrically I wouldn't suggest that it's an all ages show, it is sort of, you know, mumbled through so that, you know, anyone can kind of enjoy it. But I'm really excited to see what they'll be like in September when I see them again, which is, 8 months down the road. And I know that they've got gigs booked, so once they get some good hard time out there.
So, I mean, I'll quickly just say that the kind of main prize of Battle of the Bands was actually to perform at the Scottish New Music Awards.
Yes.
Which... the nominations are now open for, and these are your awards. You effectively started them, but the nominations are now kind of open. So really, I think the website's going to be on the screen for us here.
Right.
And if people want to get in touch with you, nominate themselves or a friend.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, our sort of tagline is, you know, it's by musicians for musicians. There's no, you know, corporate gloss on it. There's no. I mean, you look at things like the Brits or the Grammys and all these big. I mean, not that I'm putting us in the same category, but we're all about new bands. We're all about new art. We're all about new music, and. You know, there's a few people I have around me helping me organise what we're doing, because, I mean, this is our second year. But, you know, hey, I don't claim to know every single band in every single genre that's going on in Scotland. So if if you want to get involved, you've got to get off your butt and let me hear about you. Get something to me.
Excellent. Good stuff. Well, the website's there, and really, I'd love a lot of Perthshire talent to get in touch because it is out there.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Bruce, and I've loved judging with you, and I'm looking forward to the awards ceremony in September.
We shall judge again.
Good. Thank you, Bruce.
Hello, I'm Jason Blythe here with the St Johnstone news for Perthshire Online TV. It's been an eventful week up at McDermott Park with Steve Lomas looking to capitalise in on the transfer window which ended last night at 12 o'clock. Two of the signings he managed to sneak into the squad, Kudus Oyenuga from Spurs and James Keatons of Celtics, both under 21 players. But to help me discuss this further, I have one of St Johnstone's super fans, Kevin Heller. Kev, thank you for joining us here.
No problem, Jason.
So you've been a St Johnstone fan for quite a while now. How many years have you been following the Sainties?
I've been going since 1983. So that's
1983, 28 years. Fast maths there.
Yes,
and I believe you had a record with yourself for the most consecutive St Johnstone games attended. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I once went 509 games consecutively.
509?
509, yes.
Why did you stop?
I had a friend's wedding and he's a Saints fan, so he'll never be forgiven for that, but yeah, that's what...
You must have a very understanding wife.
Yeah, well, on occasions.
On occasions. Yes. Is it true that you got married at McDermott Park?
Got married on the pitch at McDermott Park, yeah.
Was that her idea or yours?
She wasn't too bothered about where we got married and I pushed it through. And she enjoyed the day, so no harm.
Excellent, I'll bear that in mind. So over the years you're bound to have come across some really influential players at Saints. Are there any that you'd like to put up there in the legendary category?
Yeah, well, there's loads and loads obviously. Way back when I first started watching St Johnstone, it was Drew Rutherford, the captain at the time, until recently the most amount of appearances for St Johnstone.
Sadly no longer with us.
Yeah, he died a couple of years back. The Saints fans did a lot of stuff to commemorate him. And it was a great time, apart from obviously his death. So he was one of my first heroes. Since then, it was Alex Totten era. There was that was a big team, and nowadays there's plenty of cracking players through the years.
Excellent. Well, I mean, what do you reckon of the squad right now? Are there any players there that you're particularly fond of?
Well, there's a handful of players that could potentially make legend status, but you wouldn't ever call somebody a legend until they've left the club and they go in good light. But yeah, the Franz Sandaza, he's got potential. I like about him that he's one of the characters. He talks to the fans via Facebook, as you're well aware. So yeah, these sort of people. There's Jody Morris, obviously a guy that's played in the Champions League, playing away for Saints, keeps in touch via Twitter. All these guys are great players.
Excellent. And behind every successful team is a successful manager. You mentioned Alex Totten there. Which manager was, behind St Johnstone when everything just seemed to be going right?
Well, as I say, in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, Alex Totten was in charge, and to me he was a god as far as managers go. Entertaining footballers, guys that he plucked from the lower divisions, come and taking Saints right up the leagues.
Yeah, because he moved St Johnstone from Muirton Park, St Johnstone's old stomping ground. It's now Asda.
Well, he was in charge at the time, yeah. He took us up from the depths of the second division, which was the lowest division at the time. Took us up the leagues, entertained us. You can't beat a strike force with Roddy Grant, Steve Marscree and Alan Moore, for instance. These guys are complete heroes to me. So.
Well, you're talking about the very dark times with St Johnstone there. Being a St Johnstone fan, as you well know, can be an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. Has there ever been a time when it's not been good to be a Saintie?
Well, in my eyes it's always good, but there's been harder times than others. So,
of course.
When I first started seeing Saints back in '83, they got relegated in successive years. I was a bit too young to appreciate what that meant at the time. Hit the depths of the second division, but I always enjoyed myself. We were the big fish in the small pond a bit. We won more often than we got beat on the way back up. So yeah, since then it's been the two relegations from the SPL have been tough times. But for me personally, at the moment it's probably the cost of football and stuff makes it hard to go as often as I'd like, and that's probably harder than me than seeing my team getting beat. But
of course. Well, dark times indeed, but onwards and upwards. As you know, St Johnstone have recently undergone significant change in the history, with Chairman Jeff Brown stepping down after 25 years and handing the reins over to his son Steve. Do you think that was the right time for Jeff to go?
Yeah, I would say so. He said it himself. His heart wasn't in it as much. He'd had a few illnesses. He'd been there a bit long in the tooth. He was happy to hand over the reins to somebody that came in with a decent offer. Nobody did, so he's trained up his son Stevie, and if he keeps the same principles, then hopefully St Johnstone will be here for many years, unlike a lot of the teams that seem to be struggling at the moment. So Yeah, I'm very happy.
Keeping it in the family.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the challenges Brown faced with being the outgoing chairman was to appoint a successor to Derek McInnes, and he found that in Steve Lomas. Are you happy with the direction Steve's taken the current team?
Yeah, he would say it himself. He had a slightly easy job, isn't it? He took on a successful team and he's managed to maintain that, which is good. But I believe he's brought more to it than just that. He's come and he's better at the sort of PR side of things. You see him in the media, he talks up St Johnstone really well. Derek McInnes was a nice guy, the former manager Derek McInnes. He was a nice guy, but he wasn't as savvy with the press, and Steve Lomas definitely talks up St Johnstone really well. He just needs to maybe lose the bonnet.
Yes.
Not the greatest fashion symbol.
I'm sure he mentioned on telly the other night that it wasn't a fashion statement he was making. But speaking of the St Johnstone fans and their relationship with Steve Lomas, one of the challenges that Jeff Brown gave him was to get the Perthshire community back on side with St Johnstone. It's no secret that the attendances at McDermott Park are quite low. Why do you think this is? Do you think it's because of the current economic climate, as you mentioned, the price of tickets? And what challenges do you think Steve might face in trying to get the fans back at McDermott?
Well, the aforementioned Alex Totten was great at PR, talking up the club, getting in the schools, getting the players in the schools. These are things that Steve Lomas can do, and I'm sure he is. From what I hear, he's very good at it, and what I've seen, he's very good at it. So I would say continuing that kind of thing would, of course, be a benefit. But a lot of the problems are deeper rooted than what a manager of one team can do. Is the price and structure, and there's two-horse race in Scottish football. Although at the moment that could be becoming a one-horse race. There's like the SPL changing fixtures, so they're not happening at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, which is tradition.
And there's also the weather as well, playing host to a lot of call-offs. Do you think summer football might help the cause? Do you think it might drive in more fans?
Personally, I don't generally approve of it. It might bring a few fair weather fans, but there's summer holidays, people, especially down south, are into other sports like cricket, etc. So it would compete in different ways. I think if they were just a bit more clever about the way they do the winter shutdown, then it wouldn't be as big an issue. And the way the weather's going at these days, who's to say when you're going to get your snow and bad weather? So.
Of course. And
have you ever tried playing football in the sun?
Yeah,
it's torture. So.
Absolutely. And moving on, the transfer window closed at 12 p.m. This morning or last night, whichever way you want to look at it. Steve Lomas managed to squeeze in another 2 additions to the squad. But let's talk about the 2 loan players that have been there already in the last 2 weeks, Lee Croft and Jack Compton. Have you seen much of them?
Well, I've seen the Hibs game on telly. I watched on the BBC Alba, and Croft had a great start. Well, apart from his first tackle, he got a booking and was possibly lucky to remain on the park. He had a great goal, started really well. What I've seen of him before he came to St Johnstone, he was a good tricky player, putting decent crosses, so hopefully France and Daza can feed on them in the middle. Compton's not had as much of a chance to impress so far, but he came on against Motherwell, took on players, which is exciting to watch, beat them, fancy stepples. And
did you find it surprising that he went for a first division player to get in on loan?
Well, Jack Compton's kind of proven himself to be better than the first division, and that's possibly why he fell out with the management at Falkirk. He's been out on loan at Bradford, I think it was, and their fans are gutted that he's left, so he's proven he's a decent player, and as I say, on Saturday he showed glimpses in his Amiwo appearance.
Absolutely. And the 2 that he brought in yesterday, 2 under-21 players, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Kudus Oyenuga from Spurs and James Keatons from Celtic, both under-21 players, but Lomas mentioned that they're not there just to make up numbers. Do you think they'll feature heavily in the current team? I know you've not seen them, obviously.
Yeah. I've heard good reports on both, but yeah, I'm sure they would. He's had St Johnstone. I've got players under 21 that he's not making as much use of, and they're boys that are just sitting on the bench, meaning first team players, having to sit in the stand, not getting involved. So if these guys are going to be in the squad, it means not having to maybe place youngsters on the bench that are just there for a day trip. Really.
Of course, not just to get the water. And let's just quickly talk about Stephen Anderson. It's away from the transfer deadline talk, but he has penned a 2-year extension on his contract. He's an important player to Saints, isn't he?
Yeah, he's turned into a cracking player. When he first came into the team, he was a bit mistake prone, and I always knew he was a decent player, but he got punished for nearly every mistake. He seems to have eradicated that from his game a lot, and 2-year contract extension for somebody that's pretty much a rock at the back has been good. And I think that's been the best thing about this transfer window, is we haven't lost star players and we've got others on extended contracts. We haven't lost Fran Sandaza and Jody Morris, as rumours went around. So
yes, well, speaking of Fran Sandaza, a player very dear to your heart, finally, Kevin, how much are Saints going to miss him when he goes?
Oh, I'll be devastated when he goes.
But we've got him to the end of the season. He didn't go anywhere in the transfer window yesterday.
Yeah, you never know. He might, if we get into European football, he might hold around with a bit of luck. But yeah,
will you fly him over?
Aye, bring him over.
We'll have a whip round for him.
Yeah. He's a cracking player, and we definitely would miss him, because players that score goals worth their weight in gold. So.
Very true, very true. Well, Kevin, thank you very much for joining us today. Depending when you're watching this episode, St Johnstone play away to Heart of Midlothian in the 5th round of the Scottish Cup, and that's on Sunday the 5th of February with a 2:15 kick-off, so make sure you get there early. If you can't make that game, Saints play host to Dundee United in the Tayside Derby. That's on Saturday the 11th of February at McDermott Park with the original 3 p.m. kick-off time. In my next episode, I'll be looking at St Johnstone youth news, as well as interrogating another St Johnstone superfan. So, from me and Kev, until then, come on, ye Saints.
Well, thank you as always for joining us this week.
And thank you for your support in watching Perthshire Online TV. We always want to hear from you. We want to hear your news. We want to hear about your events. We want to hear about your interesting stories. So please contact us on the normal channels. You can email us at info@perthshireonline.co.uk. You can Facebook us on the Perthshire Online page, or you can follow us and communicate with us on Twitter at PerthshireOn. Until next week.